directed by Scott Dale and starring the beautiful Megan Fox, there's no doubt that Till Death was aimed at becoming the biggest thriller of the year. And we're here to tell you that it didn't disappoint. So if you just watched the film and want a detailed synopsis, stay right where you are, as we're about to jump right into it. With the title sequence coming to an end, the audience is immediately introduced to our leading lady, Emma, who just so happens to be portrayed by the highly underrated Megan Fox of Transformers and Jennifer's Body fame. But something is amiss here, with Emma looking more anxious and sad with every passing second. As it turns out, what we're seeing on her face is none other than guilt, an emotion that she cannot escape from, considering how she is currently in the hotel room of a man that is clearly not her husband. Regardless of how unhappy she might be in her marriage though, Emma finds that she can't do this, and promptly leaves the hotel room before things get out of hand. We also come to learn that this other man, who goes by the name of Tom, works for the same firm as her husband, who is actually a high-powered attorney. Better yet, Emma has seemingly given into her guilt because tomorrow is her anniversary. Fast forward to the next day, and we're finally introduced to Mark, brought to life by the charismatic Eoin Macken. And from the get-go, we can see why Emma feels uncomfortable in the marriage she has gotten herself trapped in. The man is an absolute control freak who is obsessed with money. Our first indication of this is a comment made by him when he first walks into the room, stating that he much prefers her red dress than the one she has on. And when she responds to this by saying that she wanted a bit of a change tonight, he shows a massive amount of discontent towards her decision. And wouldn't you know it, when we see the two of them having dinner at a fancy restaurant, we notice that Emma has changed in line with what Mark wanted all along. There are two more important pieces of information that we learn from this initial introduction though. First of all, Emma used to be a client of Mark's. You see, flashbacks indicate that she was stabbed and beaten by a criminal who was attempting to rob her a few years ago. But she fought back with a vengeance, stabbing the robber in the eye and allowing her to escape. It was Mark that came to the rescue and swept her off her feet. And there's no doubt that the comfort created by the situation resulted in her wanting to marry him. Secondly, we learn that Mark is no longer the man he used to be. Back in the day, he used to put criminals away on behalf of the district attorney, but now he finds himself on the other side of the spectrum, instead saving these men from the law in exchange for loads of money. We also get another vision of control at dinner when Emma tells the waitress that she doesn't feel like having dessert. But without skipping a beat, Mark's orders for the both of them. Oh, and did we mention that he also buys her a steel necklace that fits snugly around her neck? Talk about slave symbolism. Things are getting pretty interesting, with Mark asking Emma to blindfold herself while he takes her to his next surprise. But after driving for over an hour, Emma has had enough, causing her to rip the blindfold from her face only to see the family lake house off in the distance. With it being the middle of winter, this doesn't seem like the best of choices. The lake is frozen, and the ground is covered in fresh snow, after all. But when Emma gets inside, she discovers that Mark has gone all out and created a romantic weekend for the both of them. There are roses on the floor and reminders of their time together everywhere, especially in the red room, which has a number of pictures hanging up for her to see. When she finally makes it to the room, he apologizes for not always being there and tells her that he's going to try a lot harder going forward. The lovebirds then embrace with the screen turning to black. When Emma awakes though, things are a little bit different. We see Mark sitting on the edge of the bed and notice that Emma has been handcuffed to him in a situation that is far more scary than it is kinky. He then looks over at her and says, "It's time to wake up," before blowing his brains out with a handgun. Now covered in her husband's blood, Emma has to find her way to the home phone and call the authorities. But unfortunately for her, the phone appears to be out of order. Her next visit is to the closet, which is missing all the clothes she had previously packed there. All that remains is her wedding dress, which her husband clearly wanted her to put on one last time. But Emma refuses to give him the satisfaction, instead wearing his bloody shirt and using the wedding dress to drag her husband around. We also catch a glimpse of a pretty high-tech safe, which will become important a bit later. With an impressive head on her shoulders, Emma picks up the handgun Mark used to off himself and aims it at the handcuffs. But the gun simply clicks, showing that it had but one bullet in the chamber. Worst yet, she discovers that her cell phone has been drowned in a vase of water, while everything else inside the home has been taken somewhere else. No knives, no tools, and no food to survive on. She also discovers that the car has been drained of all petrol, making it nothing more than a useless music player. But by trying the vehicle, we hear the voice of Mark, who on a recording informs her that she was nothing when he met her. He also admits to knowing about the affair, which makes sense considering how in the next few minutes, Tom shows up to the lake house. According to Tom, Emma had sent him a message asking him to come the previous night. Realizing that Mark is dead, the two make the decision to call the police. But since Tom's cell phone is on charge in his car, he turns back, only to see a car approaching in the distance. He tells Emma to get back inside, indicating that he will deal with whoever it is. The car comes to a halt just behind Tom's vehicle, blocking it from any movement whatsoever. The man who climbs out is young and claims that he is there to attend some repairs. When Tom pays him and asks him to leave, another man inside the car steps out, revealing himself to be the criminal who previously attempted to rob and assault Emma. Suffice to say, this is why Emma's old file was on Mark's desk the day of their anniversary. Not a few seconds later, and Tom has a knife lodged firmly in his stomach, causing Emma to hide away just in time before the men break into the home. We then learn that they're actually brothers who were hired by Mark to come after Emma. As it turns out, they were promised millions of dollars in diamonds, which are hidden away in the safe that we noticed earlier. And since only Emma knows the combination for the safe, there's no doubt that they need to get their hands on her. What ensues is a cat and mouse game, where Emma tries her hardest to escape the clutches of these men. But keep in mind that she is barefoot and carrying around the corpse of her husband at all times, making it a tad difficult. That is, until she drags him out to the family boathouse and uses the anchor of the boat to chop his hand from his arm, releasing her to run off on her own. But in the end, she is captured by the brothers, who demand the code from her. From this exchange, we come to learn that the younger brother doesn't actually want to hurt her at all, allowing Emma to convince him to leave with the other criminal as soon as she gives them the code. After pulling a gun on his older brother, a deal is made. But when the safe is finally opened, all that awaits them inside is a note, which claims that the diamonds are close to Emma's heart. This causes her to realize that the diamonds are actually hidden in the steel bracelet that is secured around her neck. And since it has no clasp, the only way it can be removed is for the criminal brothers to remove her head from her neck. The younger brother has had enough and tries to save Emma from his older sibling. This does, however, result in him being pinned against the wall, causing a steel clasp to penetrate his skull, killing him instantly. Emma isn't done fighting though. In a flash, she secures the handcuffs once more connected to her husband to the OG criminal, leaving him with the task of chasing her while being tied down. After being stabbed in the leg though, things are pretty even, with the two making it out onto the lake that has been frozen over. After pinning her down, Emma is able to force a knife into his chest, but with the upper hand, he slams her against the ice. Seeing no other way out, Emma quickly breaks the ice, resulting in the man falling down into the depths of the lake, with her husband and Emma in tow. Grabbing onto her and dragging Emma down, she sees her chance, taking the knife from his chest and stabbing it into his other eye. And just like that, our heroine is able to make it to the top of the lake, breaking the ice with a knife still firmly clasped in her hand. And in a final show of disobedience, she takes the ring from her finger and rolls it into the newly created hole in the lake, showing that she is no doubt done with her marriage to Mark. Now lying exhausted on the frozen lake, we hear police sirens in the background as the screen fades to black and the credits begin to roll. A thoroughly surprising movie, which finally shows the acting chops that Megan Fox has attached to her name. What did you think of it though? Be sure to let us know in the comments section down below.